Hello, my name's Archie Parks. I'm a teacher and currently undertaking my Forest School Level 3 assessment. So these are my videos that are coming up. I've chosen a pretty wet and horrible day, but I've got my hat and my glasses. Hopefully that won't bring the sun out, but it's a good day to practice making shelters anyway, and some videos, because hopefully they'll keep me nice and dry. I'm also an outdoor instructor, mountaineer and climber, as well as having done an outdoor education, outdoor leadership degree. Okay, so hope you enjoyed these videos, and teaching you all about the skills and tool talks, different things in forest schools, from safety to fire management to camp life, and all of the stuff in between and around that. Okay, here we go. So when I'm out in the woods, and especially looking for somewhere to have a good shelter to keep dry and to teach some lessons as well, I'm really looking for a safe canopy, okay, where there's no dead branches or anything above me, somewhere that actually already has a bit of shelter, hopefully with some good sort of conifers or branches above me that can shelter me from the weather. But also I'm kind of hoping that when I look around and have a search, that I can find sort of an area that has a bit of space as well, so if I can have a fire, I don't affect the trees and anything above me, but also areas where I can tie a tarp or get something stuck between some trees to create a kind of shelter. Let me show you where I am now. It's really interesting how the difference you can have from going from under the trees, where you feel actually you're quite protected from the rain, and then out onto an open track and suddenly it really is raining. So hopefully I'll find a good spot. Hi there. So here we are in the middle of an amazing wood close to where I live, and it's so diverse, a diversity of trees and wildlife here. So it's fantastic when it's raining, because now I've managed to find quite good cover with a combination of different canopies kind of stopping the rain getting through. Let me show you a few of the shelters I've built here previously. I've actually used the natural resources around me to build. Okay, here we go. So here I've created a kind of teepee frame. I used this beautiful big tree, okay, and I've created this here. And you can see that at the moment it's obviously a bit skeletal in a way, because it's got quite a few gaps in it. But what I like to do is then use bracken over the top, making sure I use gloves because that can be quite sharp, to then place that on top, or maybe even some other branches. And I don't want to be taking too much from the actual trees or anything around me, destroying too much. And sometimes leaves works really well, that are on the floor as well. And you can see that I've got my opening here, and actually there's a good little shelter in here. Yeah, really important. What I've used as well is big strong branches that I can branch all the way up onto the top here to create that structure. I've really got to think about the angles, how I lean things as well, because I want to make sure that actually I have enough space inside. But it's not bad, okay? It's a bit wet inside today. I think I'm going to use my tarp when I set one up in a sec. And then there's also this one here that I've created, which I really like. It's a bit lower down and it's still a work in progress. But again, I'm just using the things that are around me. So here I've created, let's put that there so you can see. Hopefully this camera will stand up. This small one here that I can actually clear out underneath here and lie inside it. It's absolutely perfect. And then again, you're covering on top, really creating that shelter. What you could do as well, to even improve it and make it better, is on one side you could have branches coming off here to about halfway, because then you can get in, it's completely covered, but then you're open in this area here. So there's a real good mix there. So there's just two shelters really that I've made within the vicinity of the area here. What I'm going to do now is have a look at some branches and see what works well to actually create a shelter using a tarp and using some knots that I'd love to show you. Okay, here we go. Now looking at using some ropes to create a sort of hanging area so I can put my tarp up. And there's a different kind of knots we can use. Some that are really a bit more complicated, some that are really quite simple, but all that are really manageable actually. Being a climber, I've used quite a lot of different techniques to tie on things, from a clove hitch, okay, you could use Italian hitches to make it move a little bit more, figure of eights, but actually one of the easiest ones is just using the rope to wrap around on itself to create friction on the rope which then means that it won't be going anywhere. Let me show you on this tree here. Here, I can actually go over this completely. I'm trying to tie a good knot so that it doesn't get caught up at all. Now, actually, what I'm going to do is I could, actually on itself right now, I could do a clove hitch on it. Yeah, or I could just wrap around here and wrap around itself. And keep wrapping, actually. And keep wrapping. If I do that, I might keep wrapping a bit more. Keep wrapping. Keep going. And this is one I was taught on my forest school assessment. Now that isn't going anywhere. That is stuck there. That's doing a perfect job, if you can see, to make sure it won't go anywhere. And I've used enough so that's actually out of the way here. No one's going to fiddle that. I could tie it up a little bit more, but I don't want to make it tied up so it takes ages to undo. Okay, but it should just wrap in like that. That's not going anywhere. And it's really biting because it's causing friction on itself and it's biting onto the tree there. And then I can come across like this. And if I show you where I'm aiming for, I'm now aiming to actually go onto a similar branch from the same tree over here. I can show you like this, and I can come over to here like this. Now again, there's different ways of doing it. I actually sometimes bring carabiners to make it simple. I can just loop round and clip back into itself, okay? Or you can do another one as well. So here, I'm actually going to come around here and grab the rope on the bite and just tie a loop around itself like that and tie it on itself again, and that's just tied off now, and you've got that. Now that's quite slack, that's okay. It's not hard for me just to pull through here, pull that end and actually just tighten it up, and then I just tie it up again. Okay, a bit like you tie up an abseil or anything like that, and I just tie it off through there, tied off, done. And that rope now is really taut, not going anywhere. Let me show you what I've done over here. Okay, and it's just tied off on itself. Okay, I can just wrap that up over here to keep it out of the way. Okay, let me show you a few more knots as well. Hello, so here we go. It's still pouring down with rain. Archie Park's here, ready for his doing my level 3 assessment for forest school. And I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about knots. And there's loads of fantastic knots you can use. I do a lot of climbing and I love lots of knots, but there's actually more knots I've learned since doing stuff to do with forest school than I ever did climbing. Okay, and one of my favourite ones, which I think is really important for setting up shelters especially, is called the timber hitch. The timber hitch is a really useful knot and it relies on friction and it's really, really easy to do. So let me show you over on this tree over here. Okay, so what you need to do is you get one end of the rope and you pass it round here. Once you've done that, you go round itself like that. You maybe need a bit more here. And then when you've done that, you're going to go round this bit here 1, 2, 3 times. 3 times a knot tie. If I pull it nice and tight. Now that timber hitch is not going. I'm pulling it really tight, as tight as I can. Okay, it's not going anywhere. It's a really simple one to tie. Okay, and you want to make sure you've got it all laden up like that, and that's perfect. That's not going anywhere. Now that I've tied the timber hitch, what I need to do now, thinking about my shelters, I need to work out where to put it onto the next bit of tree. So I've got a massive big tree over here, a lovely tree, which I'm now going to do my next bit round. Okay, let me show you that. And there it is. Let's see how this goes. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, it's much easier just to get up all the rope, pick it all up. Now I've got loads of coils here because it's an old rope. So what I want to do is just go recoil it, because otherwise it would just be a real pain. So I'm going to really unleash that. Okay, and these are really, what's good about knots is these you can learn how to put up shelters, okay, how to go climbing. You can learn just generally play some activities and some skills and learning doing knots, and that's really, really important. So what I'm doing now is I'm just making sure I've got enough, and I'm going to go around this tree now. See you in a sec. Oh, look at that, and I've even picked up a stick. That's so much. So here we go, around the tree. All right. And I come back here. I'm now around the tree. I mean, this is nice and tight. Okay, using my timber hitch over there, and now I've got this bit around here. However, okay, I can't tie this off. I mean, I could tie it off. I could loop round and do a couple of overhand knots here, but that's not going to be perfect. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to show you different loops that you can do, okay, in this bit of the rope going around the tree to then help tie this one off. I hope you enjoy. Here we go. Okay, so continuing here, talking about the loops that we're going to create so that we can then get that tension around the tree. There's 3 that I'm really going to talk to you about today, okay? I use them in climbing as well, and they're really good for this, and they really are sturdy. The first one we're going to do is create an overhand loop. All you need is to take a bit of the bite on the rope, and I'll do it a bit closer to here so I can go around. Okay, that's about right. You take a bite on the rope like this, and you loop, make one circle round and back through the hole. As I do that, just like an overhand knot, just a knot, and that, it's got your loop there. Okay, that's the first one. We go round the tree and back towards that loop. So that is your overhand loop. The next one I like to do is very similar. You're adding an extra loop in. Okay, and it's the figure of 8. Okay, so again I get a good bit of loop. Okay, I create what I actually think is create a face. I go round the face. So if I do this, I'll show you round the face, back round again, and poke it in the eye. And I'll show you there that is an 8, isn't it? And again, you've got your loop. If I pull that nice and tight, you can see your loop there. I come over here, and again, I've got my loop here. Okay, close to the tree. The next one I want to do, which is really fancy, and you can impress all your friends by this one. Well, you can impress your friends with all of them, but this one is brilliant. It's called the alpine butterfly. Okay, so what you want to do, and I'll show you it like this. You see my hands. You have the rope pass through here, and then you do pass through your palm. Yep. Then you do 1, 2, 3, heading towards your fingers. Then the bit closest to your thumb, you actually take to the outside. You take to the outside. And then the next bit closest to your thumb, you pick up and you put under both of them. So you pull that. So you should have a loop pulling, through like that. You pull that there. It looks complicated at the moment. If I show you there, is your alpine butterfly with another loop. Isn't that great? And we pull that again close to the tree. Perfect, ready to go. Okay. My favourite one though, because it's simple and it's quick, is the overhand. So I come here, about there, go round. In fact, no, I'm going to do figure of 8. Figure of 8 because I love climbing. That's that. Now what I can do is I can go around the tree again. Let's see. I come round the tree. Again, I've picked up a stick in my rope, so keep your rope organised. Once I've come round the tree, I can now put my rope through that loop that I created. And you can see already this is quite taut, but I can make it much tighter. Watch this. Pull that through, and I go back round the tree. Back round the tree. Okay. Now I've got to the point here where I've actually done this loop too big and the tree's too big. So I should have thought that through, but actually I can tie it off down here. I just loop it round a couple of times. And now you have it. That's perfectly around there. It's not ever coming off because we've used the tension. We've used a timber hitch over there. We've used over a figure of 8 loop here to go around the tree to then tension it back, and then we've just wrapped around the tree to tie it off. Okay, let me show you now a few other ways though that you could tie it off. Okay, so here we are. I've been through the loop, I've come back, I've tightened it right up. And then what I can do is I just come through the triangle that I've created here, okay, and pull that nicely through there. Okay, that creates it nice and tight. And actually I might just tie this little bit off just to itself so it's out of the way. Over here, brilliant. Okay, What I've got now though is I've still got a bit of an end to finish it off, to make that really, really secure. Okay, really, really nice and tight. So what I can do is I just create a little kind of tongue, okay? And I need to make sure that I create that tongue over here, and I want to tie it off in here. So I'm making sure that I'm using an overhand to tie off those bits there. And I actually do it 2 or 3 times, just making sure that's really, and then you've got this perfectly tight setup here, fantastically done. You've got your timber hitch, you've got your overhand loop, you've got your figure 8 loop, you've got your alpine butterfly, and you've created a really good setup between the 2 trees. Absolutely perfect. And now you need the tarp up to stop the rain. Okay, but before we do that, I want to show you a few other knots as well that are really important. Let's have a look at those. The knot I'm going to show you here is how to do a clove hitch. There are 2 ways to do it. There's one way to do it when you've got a branch that you can't get to the end of, and there's one way to do it when you can get to the end of it, and that's an open clove hitch. The other one is a closed clove hitch. So I'd like to show you just on this log here. Okay, you put the loop round like this. Okay, so you've got one loop round there, then you go over itself, okay, which is great. Already you can feel the friction on that, and you've created an X. And then what you do is you go back under this one here and pull that nice and tight, like so. Okay, bring those together, and you've got yourself a nice tight clove hitch that's locked, and it's a closed one on top of this log here. I'm pulling really hard there, and it's not going anywhere. It works with friction around the log. Okay. With this one, what you do is you're looking to create a right over left loop and another right over left loop. You've got then 2 loops like this. So this one on here goes behind that one to create 2 loops that come together like that. And if we put that directly over here and we tighten both bits up, then you've also got your clove hitch on there. Okay, that is an open one. Let me show you one more time how it works. Okay, you're looking at going right over left, right over left, right behind left. There is your clove hitch, which goes onto there and tightens like so. Okay, really useful knot, that one. You can tie off afterwards. Okay, there is one more I'd like to show you actually, and that's the Italian hitch, which means actually it can move. You can move the rope. Okay, you can tie it off as well. Again, it's very similar. Right over left, then fold them into each other like a book. And if you fold them into each other like a book, you'll find that when you put it over something, the rope can travel. Sometimes this is used for lowering yourself off something or lowering something, but then if you want to, you can just tie it off by taking the rope on the bite and again and tying it off like so. Push that up there and it won't go anywhere. If I want to release that, I just release these bits here, pull that through, and again the Italian hitch can just move. It just flows like so. And I could actually pull all the way and it would flow back into my hands. There you go, there's a good look at doing lots of knots. When I would be teaching knots to children, what I'd be looking at, or to groups that I have in the forest school, I'd make sure they all have their own individual length of rope, okay? Definitely long enough for them to be able to actually hang it around and have a try. I give them some sticks and some areas to give it a go. I would show them initially what they need to do, and then ask them to go off, give it a go, see what they can do, come round, have a look, and then bring them back. And that way, we're doing the main focus, then they come back for a little plenary to discuss how that went, and then off they go again. I wouldn't move on, or try not to move on to another knot until they've actually got that one sorted. And sometimes it's really useful because ropes can be quite, as you saw, can be quite technical and difficult to maneuver. Sometimes actually doing it in pairs can be really helpful. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to create now, using the knots and the ropes I've used and my tarp, a low-lying shelter, which is perfect in these conditions because also got quite a low canopy here. I don't want anything too high, It will mean that I'm a bit lower to the ground. I might not be able to stand up fully, but actually it's better because at the moment there's a bit of horizontal rain coming in. It's not that nice. Staying lower to the ground is going to let less rain in. It's going to work really well as a shelter. I can also pile stuff on the sides if I want to a little bit, just to make it more waterproof. Also, just sticking with what I've already built around here, which you can see is a low-level shelter over there. I want to do a similar style with that. So let's enjoy that now. Again, I'm going around here, adding my looping knot, round and round and round. If I need to tighten it, I can tighten it at the end where I've done my overhand knot. And already, this is already super tight. Let's try and get that in one more time. There you go, that's out of the way. Now I can start to bring this up here. Maybe add that there just to keep it tight as well. I just need another hand knot there. Perfect. You can already see my shelter is starting to take shape just with the wind. Great. Now you might think as you're looking at the shelter here, well, the wind just picked it up, so is he going to be hit by the wind? Well, no, actually, the wind's coming from all over at the moment. It's all over. The rain's coming down mainly vertically, a bit to the side, and it's kind of coming from that direction there, so I'm looking to make sure I'm sheltered in it. Now I'm going to take out the back bit and peg those down. Now, what I'm going to use is I've got some, they're a bit like walking poles really. They're not quite walking poles though, but they use them to help keep your tarp up. Okay. I've also got some pegs here, some camping pegs, but you can also use natural pegs. Okay. You could use a stick like this. If you break it a little lower, put it in at the right angle, then that won't snap, and that will actually be just as good. And then you're carrying less stuff around. But also these pegs are just as good. On pegs, I will be showing you how to create and make a peg as well. Okay, I want to show you what we've got then. Okay, so here I am. It drops off way back there. I'm going to tighten it up. This is what happens really. Once you've got it initially started up, then you can go around tinkering and doing some tying up. For instance, you can probably see in the camera here that I've got some rope to tie up now to get out of the way. You know, with groups you may have people fiddling with it or pulling it, and that could actually bring it down. So you want to make sure it's out of the way, but not tied complicated out of the way, just moved out of the way. And you remind groups as well, and whoever you're with and your forest school children, that actually once we've built it, you don't want to do that. You see, you don't want to pull this in, just that's that sorted. When I do make these, sometimes I'd like to have it ready. If it's a really bad weather and I've got a young group, if it's really bad weather, I want to have it set up for when they arrive so they can get straight into the shelter. But sometimes as well, I think it's really good for them to actually build the shelter, and we work at it together and create that shelter, and that's really satisfactory as well, because then you come into here and it's all created and ready. So I've just seen here that the pole has fallen down in the corner. So that's another thing. I'm going to sort those things out and then I'll get my kit in the tent. Okay, so that is getting a shelter. I'll just sort it out now a bit better. Okay. With my green rope that I've got here, sort of in the way at the moment, I'm actually just going to coil it up. So I'm just going to very easy round my elbow, and I'll turn it around so you can see here. I'm going to get it coiled up, easy skill to do, show the group that. And once I've got that there, actually, there's a perfect branch just to get that out the way up there. It's out of the way now. The same with this, I haven't used the entire part of this sort of guy line that I've got attached to my tarp. And what I might do is I might just untie it so I can actually organise the knot a bit better. What I could actually show you a few more knots whilst I'm here as well. So for my pegs, what I've been doing is I've actually been taking the rope on the bite and then just going once round, my fingers through the hole, like so. And that means that I can then put the peg in here and pull it tight. What I also sometimes like doing, which actually is really helpful, and it really saves on a lot of faff when you get to having to untie your knots to go home or whatever you're doing, or moving site, is actually put a stick inside the knot. And you can still tighten that up, okay, and the stick's in there, and it won't come out now, it's in there, it's secure. However, if I want to untie that knot quicker, if it's not in there, the rope's really tight together, and it's really hard to separate. So what I can actually do now is I pull out the stick, or wiggle it out, or just try and loosen the rope a little bit. Okay, pull out the stick, and there's a gap now in the knot. It's not fully tight together, and then easily I can undo that. That's just a really useful skill. Right, I'm going to crawl this up as well, and I might just do this in my hand. Just create simple coils, and I might even do an overhand around the whole thing, and that way it's just a bit tidier. And then I can tuck that up there. If I show you, that's much neater now, okay? It's much neater. I'm going to do the same over here and the same down there, just putting that up. And so I'm going to do that without the camera, otherwise, well, actually, no, I could leave the camera. Then you can see it quickly. So, can you see over there? All right, let's have a look. Again, I've got an overhand on here. It's super tight. I wouldn't, so just got to get that undone. There we go. There's that. There's that. Again, I might pull from the top here. Coil, coil, coil. And that one I'm just get stuck into there. It's just a bit tidier out of the way. Let's sort out this side here. So now I've pegged that out a bit better. I've used the pole, and I know it's at an angle. The reason it's at an angle actually is because I want the water to drop off. to drop off here. It is going to start pooling in the middle a little bit, okay? But that's something I can just now and again move it. It's not going to pool up there. It's going to pool up very low down, and we've got a lot of shelter much in here, okay, in our low level shelter. I could continue to use my middle bits here, and that would pick it up maybe a little bit if I wanted, or I could put a stick in the middle just to hold it up. That's a really simple way to do it as well. I might do that, we'll see. Right, so it's super important to keep organised when you're in your shelter or your tarp. And what I quite like to do is I have carabiners, which means I can hang things from the sides. So I could, for instance, hang this one up here. And I just keep stuff organised out of the way, because it's really important for health and safety reasons that you have everything structured, organised. Of course, it's important to also have it formative and experiential, but actually having stuff put away in sensible places and you're aware of your systems is really important for your safety. So I'm going to put a few more things in here. As you can see, it's really come together now as a shelter. So here we are, now very happy in the shelter. Lovely in the rain. What I would make sure I do is that when I have all my stuff here, I'd make sure that I had it in a certain area, which I'm going to organise in a second, so that it's not disrupted by the group. I might even have it over here in my toolbox or wherever it is. And then I'd have the group always coming from another way, just so they're aware that they shouldn't be dealing with that. And I'd also give them a talk prior to it, so they had an idea of the rules and regulations of the little camp that we set up here. Currently I have a fire here, and I'm not going to do a fire here because it's a bit dry. Even though it's wet, there's quite a lot of dry stuff around, so I'm not going to do it here. I don't think it's safe. However, when I show you that, I will talk about the camp setup and the fire setup, making sure that we follow the regulations of what is in place to make sure it's a safe, okay, and functioning and productive, but also safe and structured environment. Okay. Okay, here's my bow saw tool talk. Introduction, this is the bow saw, okay? This is the handle, here. This is the blade cover, my blade cover temporarily. I take the blade cover off like this, okay? This is the blade, and this underneath is the cutting edge. When I have finished with the bow saw, I put the blade cover back on like this. I stand with the bow saw like this. I walk with the bow saw by my side like this, still with the blade pointing down and the cover on. I pass the bow saw like this. When I use the bow saw, I use it with 2 arms and a tool's length away from anyone else except my partner. Okay, like this. I use the bow saw to cut wood bigger than a 2p piece. And also, I have bare hands on the tool, except I can have a glove on my helping hand. When I'm not using the bow saw, I put it down like this, with the blade facing towards me and the handle facing away. So the blade is inwards towards me. Okay? Then, I've got to make sure when I have finished with the bow saw, I put it away in its designated safe space, or I put it back in my designated safety box for the tools. So that is my tool talk for the bow saw. This is my sheath knife tool talk. So this is a sheath knife, okay? This is the handle here, and this is the cover. I take the cover off like this, okay? This here is the blade, and down here is the cutting edge. When I finish the knife, I put it in the cover, back in like this, okay? Until I hear a good solid click, okay? I stand with the knife away from me, down by my side, okay? Holding onto the handle like this, okay? And I can walk like this, okay? I've got it nice and sturdy in my hand in a safe position. I walk with the knife, as I showed you, by my side like that, okay? Making sure that I handle the blade carefully, okay? And it's backwards. I pass the knife when I'm with 2 hands holding onto the sheath, and I pass it, okay, with the handle facing the person. Both hands on the sheath, and I'm passing this bit for that person to take, okay? That is really important for safe use, okay? Really sturdy in passing it on. When I use the knife, I use it 2 arms and a tool's length away from anyone else except my partner, just like I'm showing you now, okay? I use the knife to cut cord or for whittling, okay? I can have bare hands on the tool, but I have a glove on my helping hand. So I'm right-handed, so I have a glove on my left hand. If you're left-handed, you have a glove on your right hand. When I'm not using the knife, I put it down with the handle facing forwards and the blade facing inwards towards me, okay? That's how I put it down, like that. When I have finished with the knife, I make sure I put it back in its designated safety place or the toolbox which I have provided, okay? That is the tool talk for the sheath knife. Okay, the bill hook, my tool talk. So this is the bill hook. This here is the handle, okay? And this here is the blade. Here, underneath here, is the cutting edge. When I have finished with the bill hook, I put the cover on. I put the cover on like this. I stand with the bill hook like this. I walk with the bill hook by my side like this. I pass the bill hook like this, okay? When I use the bill hook, I use 2 arms and a tool's length away from anyone except my partner who I'm working with, okay? Also, I use the bill hook to cleave and split wood, okay? I can use this tool with my bare hands. I do not need to wear gloves. When I'm not using the bill hook, I put it down with the handle facing forward, okay? And the blade and the hook facing towards me, facing inwards, like so, okay? When, you should be able to see that there. Now, when I have finished with the bill hook, I put it back, I make sure the cover's on, I put it back in its designated safe area, back in the box, or wherever I've brought it in today, for instance, my bag, safely away. That is the tool talk for the bill hook. Hi everyone, so this is my tool talk for my loppers. These are my loppers here, and you can see these are my handles here, 2 handles, okay? And here is my blade. If I open it up, there inside is my cutting edge, okay? I stand with my loppers by my side like this, okay? And I can walk like this, holding them, not swinging them around, keeping them by my side. I pass the loppers like this, holding onto the blade this way carefully and passing the handles. Okay, so the second person can then take those handles, okay? When I use the loppers, I use them with 2 arms length and a tool away from anyone else, apart from my partner. And that's really important, to make sure you think about who's around you when you're using them. I use these loppers to cut anything that is thinner, or smaller, I say thinner, than a 2p piece, okay? And I can have no gloves for this, I can have bare hands on the tool because then I can really feel the grip and really feel what I'm doing. When I'm not using these loppers, I have the handles facing forward, okay, and I have the blade facing back towards me, and they go on the floor next to me like that, okay, on the side, with the handles facing that way and the blade facing that way, okay. Storage now is really important. When I have finished with these loppers, I make sure I put them away in the designated safety area, which is where I've got my shed locked up over there, or in the toolbox that I bring out with me as well. There you go, there's my tool talk about my loppers. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, I'm going to show you now how to sharpen the sheath knife, okay, using my sharpening stone. Okay, sheath knife because it has a sheath, okay, and we need them sharp on equal sides for the best cutting effect. Okay, so here's my handle and here's my sheath. Sorry, my name is Archie Parks, by the way, as well, and this is my level 3 forest school assessment. And if I pull the handle here, then we've got the blade. Here is the blade here, okay, underneath here is the cutting edge, and with the cutting edge is the area that we need to sharpen. Okay, so you're looking at sharpening equally on both sides, as I said, so I'm going to do it 8 times on one side and then 8 times on the other side, okay, with the same amount of pressure. Now I put it onto the stone here at a 20-degree angle, and I'm looking to sharpen and coming off like this. I can do it a bit slower. That's 1, 2, let's go again, 3, 4, and you're coming off as an arc, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we go the same the other way. And this is where it's hard because I'm right-handed. Here we go, coming forward that way. Okay, let's go again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and then I've sharpened my blade, okay, and the cutting edge is much sharper now, and it's equal on both sides. That's really important to be most effective. And then I always put it straight back into my sheath and away. So that is how to sharpen a sheath knife, okay, using a stone. Okay, so this video is how to create, make a tent peg using a sheet knife. Okay, I've just done the tool talk for you. Okay, remembering to be really careful and always have a glove on your helping hand. Okay, so I've already found and got a stick that's perfect size, I feel, for making my my tent peg. Okay, and that's what I'm going to use now. So let's see how it goes. So I've also actually got quite a nice little notch that I like in it, because actually I could maybe always use that as a shorter area to maybe add when I'm using it as a tent peg, to add some of my cord to it, perhaps. Okay, so let's start off by making sure I've got my glove on my spare hand. That's really important. And now, here we are, I have my knife. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to sharpen the bit that I'm going to have to go into the ground. That's really important. I always make sure that I'm sharpening away from me, that I'm using the blade away from me, because if I'm using it towards me, then I'm going to cut myself. I hold it like this. I've got a nice piece of stick here to go onto, and I'm just going to quickly go around sharpening this bit here. And actually, it's already taking shape perfectly. And we just make sure we keep that flat on the ground there, and we push through like this. And that's really good. We can keep going a bit more. Just trying to keep steady and keep your hands away and keep improving it, working through, pushing like so. Okay, you could tidy it up a bit if you want to, just a bit higher up if you want, but actually I quite like, and now and again I use my thumb just to give it a bit of pressure, and that just helps it a little bit to be able to achieve what I want to achieve. It's a bit long for me, so I'm just gonna, there you go, I'm happy with that. So now you can see, as I just put this down here, you can see that already I've started to make it quite pointy at the end, which is great. That will go into the ground. So now what we've got to do next bit is we need to make a notch, okay, a notch in it, so that then we can get the hook for when we're going to add it into the ground, then our string can go around it, our cord. If I take the blade back, okay, and I take that off. So I want the notch about there probably. And what you do is you just do a good little bit in there like that, quite hard, just to create a little bit of a groove. From there then, we can now push with our blade to that notch. And do it gently to start off with. And I even use my thumb to push it through, creating that notch. And if you want to go back to it again and just push even in a little bit harder, maybe a bit around it, just to really make sure that it knows where it's got to be stopping to create this notch. Let's keep going, shall we? So let's go again. Good. And remember to push through like that. You're pushing away from your body, and you can see now that very gradually I'm creating a very good notch. Let me put that back on there, down by my side. And now you can see that I've also started to create that notch. And that will go in the ground now, and then I can hold my cord on it here, and that will be absolutely perfect. I might add a bit more to it now, but that is how to create a peg. Hi there, so I'm going to talk to you how to use a bow saw, okay? I would have a partner, but because of social distancing, the fact that you can't see anyone and stuff at the moment, I haven't been able to get a partner. However, I'm going to talk it through to you and explain exactly how you do it so that it makes sense with a partner too. Luckily, I've got a natural area here to rest my log on, which is here, and I would like to cut it on this side here, which is perfect. I've got my bow saw here. I don't need a glove on my holding a working hand, but I do need a glove on my helping hand. Okay, I'll put that on now. I can take the cover off. Now this is where I want to cut here. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to place that here, and I can place my hand through to the other side of the log. So I'm holding not on this side, so that I'm on this side. And the person I'm working with on the opposite side will place their hand through here on the opposite side too. And that way we're bracing against each other, and there's no chance of pushing our hands either way and cutting our hands. Okay, so you make sure that is the way to do it. And then when you get very close to the end, you can move your hands carefully across, okay, so that you then can slowly pull through to get through it, pulling the teeth. Now, talking about pulling, and pulling the teeth of the saw, what you need to think about is what you're going to say. And you're going to say, to me, and the other person says, to me. To me, to me. It's a bit like the Chuckle Brothers, but it's not to me, to you. It's to me, to me. It's also, if it works differently for different groups, you could say different things depending on who knows what to say, or if you have different things that you do, that's fine. So, I'm going to pretend there's someone else here. I place my hand through here like this. And make sure that my legs are not confused. And I go to me, and the other person says to me. To me, 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 to me. And you're pulling the whole length of the teeth. You're pulling all the way along, all the way back. And then you use the whole thing instead of doing short, which is less efficient. Okay. To me, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me, to me. And what I'm making sure I'm doing is that I'm keep on doing that, pulling really hard. And actually I've got someone who's come to watch me, which is great, but I'm going to keep going. To me, 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 to me. And I'm nearly through now. And when I get to the point where I'm nearly through, I can actually just hold there, pull, and there you go. Place the saw down carefully. Nicely cut. Fantastic. Pip's arrived to help me out. Let's see if we can do it. So, hands through, okay. And I'm going to call it first. To me.
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 To me. To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
And when we get here, Pip, we're going to actually slowly take our hands out like this. and put them far away on the side. You put yours over there, and we're going to go really, move your hand a bit further that way. That's it. And very slowly we're going to pull just to finish off. So we're going to go to me.
To me.
Slowly to me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me. And that's that. And I'm going to take that off you. All right? And place that down here.
Booyah.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to now make a mallet. So what I've already got my nice bit of log that I chopped up. It was really great. I'm just going to quickly pull a line. In fact, I need a partner to help me with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab here. Partner, can you come and help me?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And partner's going to do what he's done again. So your hand comes through here. The other side, that way. That's it. Hold on to the saw with the other hand, Pip. That's it. And we're going to pull through. Here we go. To me.
To me.
Okay.
To me.
Good. Okay, and then we twist it. And move our hand right to that. That's it. To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
Good. And then we twist again. Okay, to me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
And we twist again. Well done. To me. Here we go. Ready? To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
To me.
Well done. And let's see how we're doing. We're getting round it. Nearly on our way round. Here we go. Okay. To me.
To me.
Hands right to the side. Pip. That's it. To me.
To me.
To. Yeah. Good. This will be the last bit now. Okay. Here we go. And
To me.
yeah. To me. To me. Well done. And we'll just join a bit there a bit. To me. Okay, good. Let's lift that up. Hands out carefully. Put this away to the side. Fantastic. So now we've gone the whole way round. Okay, already creating that bit there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the bill hook, and we're going to be hitting on the bill hook, which is really, really important. Okay, so what I'm going to do is Pip's going to be the man hitting it. Okay, and we're going to get ready to hit it. He's going to use a glove on his hand if he wants. Doesn't have to though. I'm going to hold this here, and I want you to hit hard, Pip, into there for me. Nice and hard. Keep going. Nice and hard. Bit more. Come on. That's good, Pip. Well done. Ah, there we go. Come round to the side, and you can see here that's now come round like that. And we're going to keep going, aren't we, Pip?
Yep.
So now we're going to do it about there, yeah? Well done. Hitting it hard. That's good. Good. There we go. Oh, that sounded good that time, didn't it? And we're going to go again. Okay, and let's go one more time. Ready? Go. Fantastic. Okay. Already, we've now worked together to get the shape of our mallet already. Fantastic. You've got a handle here. And now, it just needs a bit of whittling on these bits and tidying up, and that's it. So let's do a bit of whittling. Hooray. Okay. So I have my sheet knife here. Okay. My blade there. I need, though, remember, a glove on my helping hand. Here we are. Now I'm just going to whittle it away to perfect this mallet, making sure that I'm always whittling away from myself. And this wood is really good in that it's quite dry, and it will just work really well just to create a mallet and a handle for this mallet that I need. And then I'll have done some tent pegs and also some mallets. Really thinking about, I use the pressure of my thumb sometimes on the blade just to push through. You don't want it too skinny, but also you want a distinction between the actual mallet head and the handle. Also, keeping what I'm actually taking off the fire here, it's perfect for kindling. Perfect for stage 1 fire starting, really. happy. So now I just like to, I mean, it's nice to make it look nice, isn't it? So I'm just perfecting the end now. I've got my glove on my spare hand, so I can do this quite confidently. I might now come here a little bit and just keeping my hand out the way still, just go into the actual butt of the head of the mallet, just to tidy that up as well. Coming right in there like that. There we go. So satisfying. Always remembering that I'm doing this 2 arms and a tool's length away from anyone except my partner. Really make this tidy mallet, thinking about what's around me, thinking that I'm always working my blade away from me. This is really coming together now. I love it. Really happy with this. Okay, put my mallet down. Just give my sheet knife a little bit of a wipe, just with the, not on my fingers, but just the side of the glove, which actually keeps the maintenance up. Okay, and that's by my side down here. And there you have it. There's my mallet. Fantastic. Dong dong. Okay, and that works really well. Really happy with that one. Okay, hope you enjoyed. That's how to make a mallet. I'm going to demonstrate the safety checking, the cleaning, the maintenance and storage of tools that I have at Forest School, and also just my general risk assessments that I do around the area. Okay, so let me talk it through with you now. So I've brought lots of stuff out already with me this morning, just from where I keep it normally stored. And I have I'm very close to the sort of the area of school where we have a few outbuildings and stuff, and I have an outbuilding where I've actually locked everything away and it's put and locked away safely. And I keep most things stored in their certain areas. I have cardboard boxes and boxes within those areas, and they are designated places for each one. And only myself, I only go in there to hand out tools and bring tools out. So that already sort of regulates the safety side of that. I've just brought some out, some of them out today. I don't have many because I've just started Forest Schools, really, but I've brought some out to show you, talk to you about how I store them, how I maintain them and clean them, and also where I keep them and how we use them. So let me show you those. Firstly here, I've got my tarpaulins, which I use to create shelters in the wet weather, and the children use as well. I've got 2 here, one which I've got in a stuff sack, which I've kept in the stuff sack just to show you, and this will get stored within the shed inside, but also I make sure that if it's been wet and horrible, I hang it up in there as well. And I've got a hanging up facility so that I can hang it and it can dry, okay, so that it actually maintains its durability and life expectancy, because if they're wet all the time, they're just going to get mouldy and horrible, and it's not really good use for anyone, okay. And I make sure that I also tie up all the little bits of cord, the ropes on the edges and everything to keep it nice and tidy. That's really important. Here's one I've got out for you, okay, just to show you. I actually was drying this, and as you can see, if I have these hanging down a little bit, they get massively tangled up. So what I make sure is I make sure that I actually get them all together, bring them all in. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I try to. I'm quite keen on making sure that I really do a good job and keeping it nice and together. I just do an overhand in the whole thing, and that keeps it much more organised and together. Okay, and I also have the pegs, which I keep in a peg bag as well. And obviously the same thing with that goes and dries, and I make sure it's well looked after. And children also learn how to pack these, put them away safely, and that's another really good life skill. This is lots of my jackets that I wear on my top half are always red. Okay, that is so children can identify me very quickly within the Forest School area, and so that they know who I am very quickly. They can see where I am and get in contact with me. I think that's really quite important. And in that same vein, I also have, for some of my more dangerous tools, I have them in a red bag here. Okay. Now I did used to have a red dry bag, but this one actually now is just a red bag that does the job really well. Okay. And what I'd normally do is I'd actually have them in designated areas within the shed, locked away. But then when I bring them out, I bring them out with the red bag. I also have some bigger tools, okay, and the bigger tools, for instance, are my loppers, okay. I've got my bill hook here as well. I have also my bow saw, okay. And what I tend to do as well, depending on the weather, I either keep them within this bag here, depending on which tools I bring out. So the benefit of having the shed and locking them away is that I can, depending on what we're doing on the day, we bring out those tools that we need and use this bag. But also, I have my coat, and on a good day I put this coat around a tree or by a tree, and that will be the designated safety place, okay, where the tools can go and be put and placed, and that's where we leave them once we finish them, and people do not go and play around there. That's important, and the red signifies danger, and that's really, really crucial. Okay, so let me quickly talk to you about the maintenance and looking after some of these tools. I really make sure that after every session that these tools are used, that not only myself but the children learn about cleaning them down. I use cotton wool quite a lot of the time, tissue, things that won't scratch or damage it. Just initially, important just to wipe things down. I make sure when it comes to blades and things like that, is me wiping them down. And I want to keep on top of that after every single forest school session, because then it actually keeps the workload down. If you leave it for ages, then actually you're going to have loads of dirt and you're going to have to end up doing a bit more of using different tools and different stuff to actually clean it off. So I find that's really important, and make sure I use some cotton wool, a bit of water, okay, and make sure I dry it as well and clean them off. That's really, really crucial. What I also think I try to do is try to oil them. It's important not to excessively oil, okay. I'm also a keen cyclist and I do a lot of bike touring, and I learned a big lesson with if I use too much oil, actually it's not good for the bike at all. And it's the same with tools. It is important to keep them lubricated, keep them working, keep them functioning. However, at the same time, do not overdo it. Do not overdo it, because if you cover them, then that actually can make it worse. But I make sure I keep on top of that all the time, really getting intricately into the little gaps in the areas. And I often wear gloves as well to make sure I'm being safe when I'm around the cutting edge of doing that as well, those tools. Let me show you some more tools that I kept in my red bag. Okay, not too dangerous, but I have a trowel. I use this normally around my fire as well, to clear out the fire pit, to make sure that it's dug into the ground a little bit more, to create a safety around it. Okay, so I keep my trowel in there, it's really important. I also keep anything to do with knives really in there. So I've got my sharpening stone here, which I always keep wrapped carefully in this sort of rubber material, because they're easily damaged, and then it's never going to be good to, more effective to sharpening your knives and anything you need to sharpen. In here as well, okay, I have my sheath knife, yep, which I also, again, make sure that I'm keeping on top of the maintenance, keeping clean, always cleaning it off, giving it a wipe down. And if you keep on top of it like that, it really is important. Sharpening it, I sharpen every week really. It's a bit of an obsession, but I think that's important. But also, you can overly do it. So I make sure that that's what I do maybe in the term time, but I won't do it so much when it's not being used, of course. Because if I sharpen it and then don't use it for a week and I sharpen it again, well, there wasn't much point in that. Okay, put that down here by my side in the right direction. I have another knife here, which is a beautiful knife as well, used for the similar thing. Now this one I haven't kept on top of so much, and you can see that actually there's a bit of a rust build up just in here, and it's also on the edge and on the blade itself. So that's where I need to really think about. Actually, I'm going to spend a good time just perfecting that and tidying it up. We're using oil. Okay, you won't use any sharp material such as so your coarse sort of stuff that will actually rub the blade down. I really want to take that time to have a go, give it a good clean, and then sharpen it up again. Okay. Brilliant. Other things in here that I have right now, really, flint and stone. I've got my hand saw as well, which actually the blade goes back into itself here, and I can open that up, press the button here and open that up. And this one actually I haven't cleaned very well lately, so I need to get back onto that. In between the teeth, really going through and actually using a bit of cotton wool, bit of tissue to clean in, okay, and then giving it a wipe down as well. Alright, but making sure it's dry when you put it away, otherwise it will go rusty. Okay, there you go. So there's lots of different techniques to do this. I've also got some of the things I use to create fires, which I love. A bit of wood here that I use, okay. A selection of things. So that's it really for any big sharp tools. Let me show you some more things that I make sure I bring out that I have with me always at forest school. Let me put these down here. Okay, so I have my Kelly kettle, which stays always in this bag. Okay, and again it goes into the storage, sitting up nice and straight, ready to be used, okay, on its designated shelf. I always have baby wipes. I find them really, really important. They're really good just for a quick wipe down, just quick sort out of things. Really important that you don't use them on cuts or burns or anything like that, okay, because actually it's not as good. That's just straight on with some water, some clean water, okay, and also on the sort of idea of burns and cuts, I also have my first aid kit with me at all times. Okay, I also let the children and the staff that are with me know where that is. Okay, I'm not saying that they are going to be doing the first aid. However, it's important for them to know that is an important part of our equipment that I have. Okay. As well as that, I also have a fire blanket. Okay, which I bring out with me. That's really important. Obviously, when I'm doing fires, I keep that, and that is always close by. In line with having fires, I also have my fire gloves, okay? Really important to always use those when you're fire, and enhance that and tell the children about that as well as much as possible. Cord, always organised neatly, always tied up, always hanging, okay? These are used normally for putting up tarps. And then I have a few other useful things. A mallet that I made recently, tissue paper, cotton wool, and these are all really important. Now, I know they're all coming out of the same box right now, that's why I've brought them out to show you, but normally I'd have them stored away in the shed, locked away, and then when I come out and decide what is actually happening in that session on that day, then I will bring those specific tools out. And again, like I said, use my red coat, use my red bag, and use a designated tree. Now the designated tree we have here is our safety tree here, which has got the one with the pink on, okay? And everything comes around this tree, and we keep things there, and that is where we know that there could be dangerous things here, there could be, we could have our bow saws here perhaps, or things around this tree, but they are put away sensibly in the toolbox that is around that tree. Okay, so that's just talking through some of the kit that I have. I forgot one thing that I want to share with you as well. What I find really useful, and I have a good few of these from sort of paddling experience, is having a really good dry bag. And that means if you also go off from where your forest school normally is and a bit further away, you can have everything that you need within the bag, dry, done up, clipped away, and nice and safe. And so the children also know that this is my designated forest school bag as well. Okay, so that is all the kit, okay, which I need to now put sensibly back in there. Okay, we talked about cleaning it, making sure that we keep on top of the cleaning all the time. The storage, well, the storage, or the safety point for me, is that it's always away in the shed, that it's locked up, it has its designated places within. But also when I actually bring it out, it has its designated places as well, in line with the tree, in line with the colourings, in line with what I've explained to the children. That's really important, okay? And maintaining stuff, so making sure that you keep on top of it, keeping it clean, keeping it maintained, keeping it healthy is really, really important. I hope that is helpful, and that was what I do for those things.